This is the Money Hour with your host, Tina Mitchell, on Alternative Talk, AM 1150. Now, back to the show with local mortgage and finance expert, Tina Mitchell.
Welcome back to the Money Hour with your host and mortgage expert, Tina Mitchell, right here at 1150 AM KKNW, the Saturday, October 10th show. I provide you news on everything money, fresh information and market trends and conditions that are happening in our local economy. If you're hearing my show at a different time or day, you are listening to a rebroadcast. You can call the show at 1-855-400-1150. Again, that's 1-855-400-1150 or online at themoneyhour.com to discuss anything regarding your finances, money, any advice that you need in that arena. And obviously, I have great guests that come into studio that can answer any financial question that you have. Right now in studio, first time that I've been able to have a conversation with Maureen Nolan, broker owner of Lakeshore Realty West. Maureen, thank you so much for coming in studio. I'm excited to talk to you about title insurance today.
Well, thank you for having me.
And I think a lot of people have purchased homes before they get their title insurance policy and really aren't paying attention or understanding truly what it is and the importance behind it. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you. A little bit about Maureen: over 25 years, specialized in real estate, new construction, and land, member of the NW Independent Brokers Association. She is broker owner of Lakeshore Realty West, LLC. So Maureen, can you talk, let's just start out with my listeners in explaining what title is.
Well, title is a very important part of real estate, and in essence is your land description, your property description. It is the essence of the transaction.
Yes. Okay. And the title report is pretty long, and I'm sure with all the other paperwork that buyers are getting during the closing process, all the stuff that's going on, I bet there might be somebody listening to the show that didn't read that title and that title report. Is that important?
It's highly important. It's probably, through the 25 years of experience, one of the most important pieces of documents to look at, and it's always better to look at it before you really put that purchase and sale agreement together.
Yes.
And even afterwards, there's supplements that go on during the transaction that also should be looked at.
So let's talk about, what about Exhibit A and B? Can you share with my listeners what that is?
Sure. So there's actually something called Exhibit A, which is, again, very important. That is the legal description. And most of the time, title companies get that right, but sometimes they don't. So that's very important to look at. The other thing is then what's called a Schedule A, which Exhibit A is part of. So it's Schedule A. It's very important to look at how the deed is going to vest.
Okay.
So who's in entitlement? Who are you buying it from? And then who is going to be the purchaser?
Yes.
Is your name on that title?
Got it.
So there's a couple of things that will happen once you put a purchase and sale agreement together, and they'll provide a preliminary title for you.
Yes.
And these are the things you should look at.
Okay. So Maureen, normally when a contract goes together, you've most of the time you've got two real estate agents. You've got the listing agent that's representing the seller, the selling or buyer's agent that's representing the buyer, and normally they have experts that they've worked with in both title and escrow. Do the buyer and seller have to use the representatives that are recommended by the realtors?
Absolutely not. That might be news for a few, but absolutely not. Yeah.
And why would they do that? I mean, share the importance of using the resources that are already recommended to you when it comes to such an important purchase.
Well, from an agent's perspective, and that includes me. I mean, of course, I have people that I've worked with for many, many years, and I enjoy working with them, and I know the legacy of their work and how they work. So I have confidence that they'll do good work for me. And equally, an agent representing a seller, if let's say I'm representing a buyer or vice versa, they equally have those professional partnerships.
Yes.
And usually they serve all parties well.
Yep.
But there are some times where you might want to consider other options.
Okay. And during Money Chat, as I talked about the CFPB and the new TRID rule and regulations that have came in, I think it's really important, especially on the escrow side, to make sure that you've got one of the great companies out there to make that process go smoothly.
Yep.
So let's talk about, you've mentioned preliminary title and really taking a look at what's happening in title, with title, before that contract is actually accepted. Can you talk about that?
Certainly, usually, and hopefully, if you're a buyer and you're considering a listing, your agent should be able to get a copy of the preliminary title.
Okay.
And hopefully that listing agent has ordered that. And so get a copy of it and take a look. And the other element of that title is the Schedule B, and that's where you're going to have some hidden secrets, I guess you can say.
Okay, all righty. And what about title supplements and why those are important, Maureen?
Those are very important because what can happen is a supplement is any change to that title. So during, let's say, that 30 or 45 days, or if you're doing a land deal that year time before you close on the transaction, the title company might have a change to that title. And they need to issue, and they have to issue what's called a supplement to notify all parties that there's been a change.
Got it.
And that change can be either good, sometimes it can be bad.
Yes, yes. And so the importance of reviewing the title prior to getting into under contract or a purchase and sale, pretty important, yes?
Very, very important, yeah.
And so when you do come to an agreement and you're under contract, what about the title contingency? How long does that run to get things kind of figured out if there's issues going on with title and to get them resolved before the buyer's earnest money might be at risk if they walk because of a title issue?
So putting your purchase and sale agreement together, very, very important to make sure that you have that title contingency in the purchase and sale agreement. That contingency is in the Northwest Multiple Listing, the 22T.
Okay.
And so that will kind of spell out your options. And so working with your agent, that's definitely an addendum to include.
Got it. So, Maureen, do you recommend that your buyers to actually call the title company to go over and answer questions that they might have on the title report, or if there's things that they don't understand? Is that a good resource for them?
Absolutely. Yeah, I find most of the time, and certainly as representing my buyers or sellers, I'll make that call and prep the title rep to make sure that they understand the question that's going to be asked, and then I have my buyer or seller call and make sure they get a very good understanding from that title rep.
Got it. So most consumers don't understand that title prices are actually, the cost of title is regulated. Do you, can you explain that?
Well, those are, yes, they are highly regulated, and title is kind of another part of real estate that I hope to be able to drag my title rep in here to explain all of those things.
That would be awesome.
To the experts.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at title insurance, I mean, you're not really shopping around for it because it is what it is within reason. And I just found out with the new TRID regulations. I mean, I didn't realize that the percentage Washington State, they're all just 35% less than the national cost for title. And I guess they all had to figure and decide that themselves because they all have to be competitive, which was really interesting. Continue learning things every day.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Title is one of those, and a lot of people will be surprised how many title companies like Chicago Title is actually owned by Fidelity. So many of these title companies that we think are different are actually owned.
Chicago owns Fidelity, or Fidelity owns Chicago?
Fidelity owns Chicago.
Really? I didn't realize that. Unbelievable.
I don't know if they know that.
And what are some things that can come up, a story that you have in title, and what can happen if on a property that title protected? Okay,
well, this is one of those where, again, I have to thank my title rep for making me kind of a title geek, I guess you'd say. I closed a transaction representing the buyer, and within days of that transaction closing, the neighboring property, who actually did the short plat for the property my buyer was buying, they had recorded a deed that hadn't been recorded.
Okay.
And it basically took about 25 feet of my client's property as a landscaping easement.
Okay.
And the title company failed to deliver the supplement
my
prior to the
gosh.
closing. So the title company actually, had to cover that.
I was going to say, so when the purpose of title insurance, title company drops the ball, they're going to come in and resolve and take care of that
Yes.
issue.
Yes.
You don't have title insurance, that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole
but
nother,
so that's why you need to have title insurance.
Right.
Now, and a lot of times there's things that are happening in the house, right before they get it on the market. Maybe they're putting a new roof or something on, and the roofer's up there and does his job, and then he doesn't get paid, and the house closed, the home closes, and they get a knock on the door from this contractor. In that situation, what would happen?
Well, it depends on that contractor. Of course, if they filed a lien, and then, hopefully that would be something that came up in that title review.
But if it didn't, so let's say they didn't file it, you've got title insurance, they're going to take care of it, right?
Hopefully, yeah. It just depends, again, on that contractor, and if that lien was filed and if it was filed well.
Got it.
Done right, I guess you could say. Yeah.
So where are you seeing that in areas of lessons that can be learned from title issues that come up, or the closing process, or when it comes to title insurance? What advice do you have, Maureen?
Well, it's a pretty boring piece of document. So, I think a lot of people just put it aside, but it is actually something you should sit down and talk through with your realtor.
Yes.
And again, paying attention to that Schedule B. It actually provides you some information, like a recent one that I'm doing for some land in Issaquah. For example, it has a copy of the original short plat. So you're able to get kind of the survey markings off of that. It actually also says it has a recorded survey, but as we looked at it, it actually isn't for the property in question. It's actually for the neighboring property. And actually that's of value, because it is showing one line of that survey. So these are kind of the hidden gems you can find in your title report. So you don't have to go out and find a survey.
And how many pages title report? My gosh, that thing is so long.
Yeah, I know.
So what about, taking title? And do you see people making errors in how they take it, whether they take title sole ownership, tenants in common? And are you seeing any buyers really not putting enough thought into that and taking title the wrong way?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And again, what advice you have for them is connecting with the title insurance company and really understanding how they're taking title?
No, a good lawyer.
Okay, all right. Great advice.
Well, it's actually I see it when people are doing investments, or people who are buying it as a couple, but they're not married, for example. So there's no
that can be a
community
huge
property
mistake.
Things going on. So in that situation, I advise them to talk to a lawyer to have some kind of agreement that then they get advice on how they should take title. Makes total sense.
Great advice. Yeah. So Maureen, being in the industry for many years, being a broker, owner of your own real estate company, with what's happening, getting off our title topic and just getting right into the real estate, what's happening right now for you and your business and your expertise in the industry that you can share with my listeners on today's environment?
Well, that's a loaded question. I think
it is. It's good.
Where do we begin?
I got to close the show. So multiple offers in our environment right now in the market. Give one tip to our buyers out there that are dealing with multiple offers. What would you share?
Well, I would definitely do a pre-inspection. If you're a multiple offer buyer, you've really got to make the commitment to buy. And you have to be really clear about that purchase. If you want to win, work with your agent, and they will advise you on how to quote unquote win.
Yes.
And position you well with various things like no inspection and all cash, borrow from friends, family,
whatever you need
to do. Or at the very least have a really strong lender.
Yes.
And those guys are also winning.
Yes.
So there's some things to do there. And if you can get a hold of that title, make sure, the person selling it to you is vested on that title.
Yep.
There's a lot of preliminary things you can do before you make that offer.
Yep.
That will strengthen your position.
So best advice is you've got to work with an expert. I've got one in studio right here, Maureen. Give the show a call, 1-855-400-1150, or go online to themoneyhour.com. You've got to work with an expert. You've got to hire them and listen to what their advice is to navigate through this process. You've got to prepare and do things ahead of time before you make these offers. Great advice. Maureen, thank you so much for coming into studio. It was a great having a conversation.
Thank you
and
very
sharing
much for
something
having me.
outside of your arena and really talking about title, because that's really, really important. So I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And this is your host, Tina Mitchell. Again, mortgage expert. That's what I do. I will be here next weekend, same time, same place, to talk to you about money. So you don't want to miss next week's show. Thank you so much for joining, and have a great weekend.